You ever have one of those days where somebody just decides you don't belong? Like, not with words, but with one tiny, humiliating gesture? Yeah, that happened to me. Right there on Rosa Martinez's front yard, still covered in sweat and sawdust. When Vivian Blackstone Sterling, Queen Bee of Lakewood Estates, grabbed my ID and flicked it down the storm drain like I was nothing. I said nothing. She smirked, thinking she'd just put an old man in his place. You know what I mean? Little did she know, in that one toss, she set in motion the financial ruin of her own family. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. Let me back up a sec. That Saturday started pretty typical for me. Coffee in hand, sun peeking through the blinds. The kind of morning where you feel almost okay about getting older. That's when Rosa knocked, eyes swollen from crying. "Mr. Ed," she stammered. "I know you're busy, but could you look at our roof?" Her youngest, Sophia, couldn't sleep during storms, water dripping right onto her bed. Rosa's a fighter, works 2 jobs since her husband's accident. No way she could afford a contractor. I grabbed my old toolbox and followed her out, like I've done for half the neighbors on this street, ever since I decided to hide from the rest of the world in this little patch of suburbia. Fixing that roof was simple, just loose shingles and a busted bit of flashing. But then came that sharp click of high heels. If you've never met a real HOA president, let me paint you a picture. Vivian, 40-something, blonde hair pulled so tight it looked painful, perfectly pressed suit. She probably spends more on her dry cleaning than Rosa does on groceries. She didn't even look at Rosa. Just stared up at me, like I was a squirrel she needed animal control for. "Excuse me, sir. What exactly do you think you're doing?" I came down slow, wiped my hands, and told her, real polite. Just helping a neighbor, nothing illegal. Didn't matter. She fired off questions. License? Insurance? Bonded? Each one loaded, designed to make me feel small. I handed her my driver's license. Edgar Thornfield. She squinted at it like it might bite her. And then she said it, the thing you never forget. People like you destroy property values. She tossed my ID into the gutter with the flick of a wrist. Gone. Rosa gasped. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Vivian smiled. Next time, don't offer unlicensed services in a premium community. That was her victory lap. But as she walked away, something in me snapped. I'd been invisible since Margaret died, sold my company, quit the game. Tried to lose myself in painting fences and fixing leaks. Because the last time I fought back, it nearly broke me. See, Margaret loved sunflowers, planted them all around our old place. Said they helped her nausea during chemo. HOA hated them. We got fines, threats, visits from clipboard-wielding tyrants, just like Vivian. The stress probably shaved months off her life. After she was gone, I vowed never to let anyone wield power that way again. Not against me. Not against good people just trying to get by. And that's what Vivian never bothered to check. Some folks collect stamps, some collect secrets. I spent 30 years collecting leverage. Lakewood Estates? Her precious $7 billion project? Guess whose signature can sink it overnight? I went home, hands shaking, heart racing, not from fear, but from the rush of old instincts waking up. I called Marcus Chun, a lawyer I once gave a scholarship to, back when he had nothing. "Marcus, I need you to dig into Sterling Corporation. Everything." His voice snapped to attention. That's Vivian's family. Big development, lakefront project, on shaky ground financially. I smiled. Let's shake it harder. Just then, Rosa called, nervous, apologetic. "Mr. Ed, after you left." I accidentally dialed 911 while fumbling my phone. The operator recorded everything. They asked if I wanted to report harassment. Fate hands you gifts sometimes, wrapped in panic. I told her, hold on to that recording, and if anyone asks, tell the truth. Her voice trembled, but she agreed. Marcus dug up gold. Sterling Corp wasn't just struggling, they were drowning. Every asset leveraged. Only reason the Lakewood project was alive. Meridian Capital Holdings, my old company, the one I still control, was their main investor. And buried in the contract was a moral conduct clause. Any sign of discrimination or reputational harm, we could pull funding instantly. Vivian didn't just insult a neighbor. She threatened her entire legacy. Twist of fate. Turns out her cruelty wasn't just HOA power tripping. Her father, Theodore Sterling, built the company. He's now in late-stage Alzheimer's, needs round-the-clock care, $15,000 a month. Vivian was fighting to save him and her family from ruin. Doesn't excuse her, but it complicates things. I'd learned from Margaret. Pain can twist good people into monsters. But empathy's not a hall pass for cruelty. Next day, Vivian doubled down. Cited Rosa for every tiny violation. Mailbox an inch too far. Hose visible from the street. Threatening $1,000 fines. Marcus confirmed she'd been targeting families of color and single moms with triple the fines of everyone else. I asked him to pull every notice, every record, build a case airtight enough for court or the court of public opinion. Then we made our move. Marcus called for a meeting with Vivian, told her Meridian had concerns. I watched from a cafe across the street as she strutted in, then came out 30 minutes later, pale and shaking. I'd told Marcus, let her feel the ground shift under her feet. Desperate people make desperate mistakes. And sure enough, within hours, she was at my door. Her eyes rimmed red, folder clutched in white-knuckled hands, voice on the verge of breaking. I know who you are. I know what you can do. Please, my father's life depends on this project. Her confession was raw, human, a daughter terrified of losing her dad. I listened. I told her about Margaret, about the sunflowers, about what happens when power is used to hurt instead of help. Then I laid it out. Resign as HOA president. Apologize to every family you've wronged. 6 months of community service. And your father's care? I'll cover it. Not because you deserve it, but because nobody should suffer for someone else's mistakes. She broke down. Sometimes justice is mercy, but only if you learn. That night, Rosa led a packed community meeting. Neighbors who'd stayed silent, now ready to act. One after another. They told their stories. Fines for Christmas lights, religious decorations, a kid's bike in the yard. Together, they called for a vote of no confidence. Signatures rolled in. The next week, Vivian resigned and apologized, name by name, offense by offense, face to face. She was broken, but free. Rosa was elected HOA president by a landslide. And then, another twist, she led the neighborhood to transform the HOA into a cooperative. No more arbitrary fines, just a community choosing its own future. Months later, I'd see Vivian at her father's care home, sunflowers in hand, finally understanding what it meant to build instead of break. She chose to stay, learning to serve rather than rule. Rosa flourished. The neighborhood healed. And me? Still fixing roofs, still finding meaning in small kindnesses. Maybe you've been in a spot like that, where revenge was easy, but forgiveness was harder, more powerful. So, let me ask you, when do you fight, and when do you forgive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about justice, community, and what real power looks like. And if this story made you feel something, give it a like, subscribe, and help us keep telling stories that matter. This is your space. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is turning your enemy into your neighbor.